Hello everyone. So today we're going to talk about biomacromolecules, those four really important macromolecules that living things need to survive and that all living things are made of. This video is going to focus on two of these, carbohydrates and lipids. So make sure you are taking notes. Remember that you can take notes in your packet that I printed out for you where it says macromolecules notes. So I'm going to go through carbohydrates today. So when I talk about the monomer, write it in here. Polymer, write it in here. And I'm also going to talk about lipids. Okay? So let's get started. Carbohydrates, remember they're also called sugars. Very important for living things. The monomer of carbohydrates is called a monosaccharide. Monosaccharide. Mono means one. Saccharide means sugar. So this is one sugar, right? Monomer means one single unit. An example of a monosaccharide is glucose. You may have heard of glucose. This is a picture of what glucose looks like. So in your notes, you should be writing down monosaccharide here. And then you can write example glucose. Okay? The polymer of carbohydrate is called a polysaccharide. Poly means many, saccharide means sugar. So this is many sugars bonded together. So some examples of polymers of carbohydrate are starch, cellulose, and you can see here if this is one sugar, when we bond many sugars together, that's when we get a polysaccharide. Okay, right? Monomer, polymer. The function or the job of carbohydrates in our cells is to first give quick energy. I'm even going to write quick energy, right? This is energy that our cells can use right away. They also give structure for plants. So they're an important part of plants. They help to keep their structure, their form. They help the plants grow. The structure of a carbohydrate is a carbon ring. So it looks kind of like a ring structure, and you can draw a picture of this in your notes where it says picture. So right here you can draw a picture of this, and you should include the atoms, right? So we've got carbons, oxygens, and hydrogens in a carbohydrate, right? The word actually means carbon, right? Carbo is carbon. Hydrate means water. So we've got H2O, water, and carbon. Some examples of carbohydrates are glucose, fructose, starch, and cellulose. Those are the molecular examples that we'll be talking about in biology class. But if you think about the foods that you eat, some foods that contain carbohydrates are things like bread, corn, pasta, rice, fruits, sugars, potatoes, squash, anything starchy. Okay, so now let's move on to a new macromolecule, lipids. Lipids are another word for fats. So the monomer of lipid, there's two monomers. The top part of the molecule is called glycerol. The bottom part of the molecule is called fatty acid. Okay, so there's two monomers here. So when you're writing your notes, make sure, let me make this smaller so you can see. Make sure you are writing down here where it says lipids. So the monomer is glycerol and fatty acids. The polymers of lipids don't have any specific names, but we can call them fat or oil. Phospholipid is another example of a fat. And fats are really important for our cells. I know some people think eating fat is bad for you, but eating fat isn't bad. Eating too much fat is bad, but we need some because they help our cells do a couple things. They function for long-term energy storage. So if there's a time where we don't have carbohydrates available, we can store energy later as fat, right? That's good for you. They also protect our cells. This is a picture of a cell. The layer around the outside is called a cell membrane. That is made of lipids, made of fat. So it helps to protect our cells. It also helps keep us warm, right? If you are an animal like this walrus that lives in very cold water, you need to store a lot of fat to survive. Otherwise, they would freeze in the cold water. So the fat helps to keep us warm. The structure of the lipid looks like this. We have a glycerol molecule on this side, and then the fatty acid chains kind of look like little zigzags. They're made of carbons and hydrogens. So you should draw a picture of this structure in your notes where it says pictures. Here. Lastly, let's look at some examples. There's two really important examples that I want to talk about. One is called saturated fat, and these are fatty acids that are straight. They have a straight line, straight chain of carbons. Unsaturated fats are bent. See how this one is not straight? Because it has a double bond here between the two carbons. So this fatty acid here has a straight line. That's a saturated fat. But this one that's bent is called an unsaturated fat. These fats are like oils. They are liquid at room temperature, whereas the saturated fats are solid at room temperature, like butter or lard. And just some more examples you may have heard of: cholesterol, triglyceride, phospholipids. These are the ones that make up our cell membranes and protect our cells. These are all examples of lipids. Okay, so carbohydrates and lipids both help our cells provide them with energy. Carbohydrate has quick energy. It has a ring structure. Lipids have either a saturated straight structure or an unsaturated bent structure. They are for long-term energy storage, but they both have to do with energy. So both very important molecules in our cells. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in class. Bye-bye.